This is episode 9 of the Arts Academy podcast with Victor Varnado and Roxxy Haze. How to make engaging content with special guest Chinedu Ogu.
Welcome to New York Alt Arts Academy's podcast, which is called the Arts Academy Podcast. I'm Dean Victor Varnado. Down there in the bottom corner is our Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze. And Chinedu, thank you so much for being our guest today. So what we're going to talk about today is basically how to create engaging content. I'm going to show you tricks of the trade that I use to create engaging content. I'm actually going to also show you the trailer that I made for Penguin Random House and Facebook Watch for their new game show and talk about how I made that trailer. And this is something that I think everybody needs to know, because if you're a mid-level entertainment person, that's where I am. I'm a mid-level entertainment person. Like, some people know my name, some people don't know my name. I've been working in the entertainment industry for a while, but I'm not a marquee name, but I work regularly. So if you're a mid-level entertainment person, you're going to need to know how to put together material to pitch your ideas to people. And this is one of those steps, which is like making engaging media or making engaging content. All right, so let's talk about making engaging content, and then we're going to talk about building a following, which Chinedu, you have already started to do. You've got over 100,000 people on your Facebook page waiting for your every word. That's great. So we'll get started right now. So when I think about making engaging content, or like especially making pitch reels, there's like 5 things that are on my checklist, okay? And I'll tell you what those 5 things are. And then after we do that, we're going to go through that article that you rounded up, Roxy, which is talking about things that you can do to make engaging content. The article is actually a little more general than I am. So here's one major thing that you want to think about all the time. And this is always running through my head. I don't hear people say it enough, but here's the biggest thing about making engaging content, making pitch reels, making sizzles, making trailers. Think about the questions that the viewer has and answer them. That's it. That's the main thing I always think about. The viewer always has questions, and you just want to answer those questions. So, for instance, let's talk about the 5 things that I always put in. I'm just bringing up my notes over here. They're over here. You can't see them, but they're notes. Trust me. So let's talk about the 5 things that I do that are always part of a pitch. Number 1, this is like I usually open any pitch or any video or anything that I'm making with like some sort of hook. It's just like some sort of like quick jab that gets people interested. Like whether it's like when I made a trailer for Tell Your Friends a Concert film, where I opened with just like a really strong joke. Are you still there, Roxy? Can you hear us?
Now I realized like Roxy didn't say anything this whole time, actually.
She's gone. Well, we have to go on with the class. Roxy knows how to log back out and log back in. So if you need to, Roxy, just log back out and log back in, or figure out what's happening with your internet. I'm going to keep talking through these things just because we want to make this worthwhile for people who are actually paying attention right now. Okay, so number 1 is a hook. I always start off with a hook, like some sort of like quick jab that gets people's attention. Then the number 2 thing I always start out with is kind of like an info dump. Now, an info dump, it sucks to say that it's an info dump, but basically you have to, in a clever way, tell people what they're about to experience or what's going to happen. So, like, for instance, like in the example that I'm going to show you, it's a game show. So basically, I have to say, like, this is how the game show works. And then the number 3 thing that I do is talk about credentials. Now, credentials are, why should the people keep listening to you? That's basically what it is. And that actually has more to do, I guess, with like say if you're pitching a class. Oh, hi Roxy, welcome back. say if you're pitching a class and you're making a fun pitch for a class, like for instance, I actually just helped my wife make a trailer for a class that she was teaching online, and then after saying basically what the class was, I put in a section where she just got to say like, hey, I am a fashion author and I've written 3 books. Like that fulfills the information of like why you should be listening. That fulfills the credentials. It's like the number 3. Even though credentials aren't always like a perfect one-to-one match with material. For instance, like when you're talking about a game show, there really are no credentials. Like we're the best game show ever. There's no best game show credentials. But in the case of this game show where in the game show it's supposed to be a comedy game show, then our credentials are showing funny stuff. Like after we tell you what it is, then we like it's a funny game show. Here's an example of us being funny, which leads right into examples. That's the next section that I talk about. So after credentials, I always show examples of what I'm talking about. That in this case will be like funny stuff in the game show, or for the case of say Leslie, who's my wife, her trailer about her class. It's just like showing that she's taught people before and they've been successful. Next is usually close with something that reminds people to take action or tune in or tell you what it is, just kind of like putting a period on that thing. And then lastly, after that, usually there's like some sort of like just closing beat, like just like a funny thing or an interesting thing. That this is not like an imperative, but I do that with a lot of videos where I end with just like some sort of like funny moment at the end that kind of like puts a big bow on everything. So I'm going to show you the trailer for the Great Fantasy Debate. And then I'm going to quickly talk through, after we see the trailer, then we're going to talk through those beats that are in the trailer. Let's do that right now. So how do I get this up on the screen? Here it comes, everybody. How do you make a trailer? And by the way, if you are going to make a trailer, I mean, you're going to definitely need it for like if you ever want to go in and pitch a TV show to somebody like this, that's definitely like you're going to need to learn how to do a trailer or a sizzle reel to show your idea to people and let them know you mean business. Okay, so here it is. Tell me if you can hear this.
People should.
Do you hear that? Okay, yeah. Great. Okay, so this is the trailer for the Great Fantasy Debate. And we're going to watch it once, and then we're going to watch it again and just talk about those things, those pieces of a piece of media that I think are important. Here we go.
People should not own dragons.
There have been 4 movies telling us how to train these things, and we still don't know how.
The Great Fantasy Debate. Finally, answers to the biggest questions in fantasy.
Empire? You have working toilets. Or rebellion?
No dress code. It's casual Friday every day.
Wow, just wow.
Authors.
To the left is the Misty Mountains.
Comedians.
You're out of toilet paper.
Sandworms.
So I can't have my sandworm friends over now? I don't want to be that person.
Let's meet our debaters.
The best fantasy vacation is Discworld.
Have you ever heard of Rimfall?
Here.
Let's discuss the acromantulas.
Everyone at Robb Stark's wedding was brutally killed.
What are the odds of that happening twice?
The Great Fantasy Debate.
What's his name?
Dumbledore.
Albus Dumbledore.
People should not.
Whoops, I didn't want to start it again. Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So now we get the basic idea. Can we do 3 people? No, we can't. We can only do 1 person like that. Let's just do this then. Boop. Great. All right. All right. The funny thing is, I think like after I talk about the different parts that I think are important in like a trailer, it seems like super obvious when you watch it back now.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's definitely like all of those things are present, but they're like 100% necessary. And this is like working with a large client. We're talking about like Facebook and Penguin Random House. Okay, so I try to make I try to make material like when I'm a small independent producer like I am. I try to make material where they don't question it, where like these big companies look at it and they don't even question whether or not it's professional. And that's exactly what going through these things did. And so I'm just going to talk through them really quick. I know that they're really obvious since we talked about that already, like what the different pieces are, but I'm just going to talk through them anyway because let's just identify them and then we can move on to the article that we had. So like, let's talk about one at a time. The first thing is the hook at the beginning, like a funny joke.
People should not own dragons.
There have been 4 movies telling us how to train these things, and we still don't know how.
Great. Okay, so that was pretty obvious what that was. And then number 2, of course, is information. We want to tell people what they're watching, okay? And that is accomplished pretty quickly here.
Fantasy debate. Finally, answers to the biggest questions in fantasy.
Empire?
At working toilets.
Or rebellion?
No dress code. It's casual Friday every day.
So basically, I don't necessarily come out and say it's a game show, but I want it in a fun way to just let people know the type of stuff they're in for. So first I say, or first we have the trailer say answers to the biggest questions in fantasy. Like what? Says the viewer. And we answer the viewer by saying empire or rebellion. So basically it's again like that main thing I say where you're always trying to figure out what the viewer's question is and you're answering those questions along the way. That's how you make something that really, really works, because as the viewer is raising questions in their head, if you can answer those, then you've got a good piece of content that communicates, which is what it's all about, no matter if it's a trailer or whatever else it is. All right. So then the next thing, of course, is credentials. So whether or not it's like your credentials because you're teaching something and you're a great teacher, or you're saying that this is a comedy thing that is going to delve into fantasy topics. Whatever it is, you basically now, once you said this is what the show is, now you've got to set up, we can deliver on this thing. So whatever it is that you're trying to pitch, now you're going to show that you can deliver. And so this is our attempt, like it or not, at delivering. Oh, sorry, I lost my cursor over here, and here we go. Back again.
Wow. Just wow.
Authors.
To the left is the Misty Mountains.
Comedians.
You're out of toilet paper.
Sandworms.
So I can't have my sandworm friends over now. I don't want to be that person.
Let's meet our debaters.
The best fantasy vacation is Discworld.
Have you ever heard of Rimfall?
Here.
Let's discuss the acromantulas.
Everyone at Rob Stark's wedding was brutally killed.
What are the odds of that happening twice?
Okay, so that actually did a lot of what I was talking about, but also the next step, which is also showing examples. One of the things when I was talking to Penguin Random House that they wanted to show that the show was going to dig deep into like weird fantasy lore, not just the broad strokes, which are like, the Empire and Rebellion. Everybody knows that. But when you get down to Discworld, there's some people who are going to be dropping off and be like, what's Discworld? But they want those people who are like super fans to know that we're going to address like their fantasy. Like acromantulas, who knows that word except for like super fans. So we wanted to show examples of that, and we did. And then lastly, in the close, all we're doing is we're restating what the project is about, basically letting everybody know that everything's going to be all right. And remember that good feeling that you had? This is why. It's because of this thing that I want you to pay attention to. And then, of course, after that is just a tag. So I tag it at the end with just like something really small. So here you go.
The Great Fantasy Debate.
What's his name?
Dumbledore.
Albus Dumbledore.
People should.
There you go. That's it. I want to show you one more trailer just to show you, like, even though it's like a totally different thing, like how the same thing relates. And then we're going to move on to that article about the different parts. Were there any questions for anybody? Let's look at here, the questions. Feel free to ask questions. When producing a trailer, would you consider length of time an important factor in getting your message? Oh, sorry. Let me put that. Here we go. when you're producing a trailer, would you consider length of time an important factor when getting your message across? Yes, absolutely. I would definitely consider that being an issue. In fact, often they'll tell you, like when I'm producing a trailer for a client, they're going to tell you like what they want time-wise for trailers. They'll say, we want a 1-minute trailer, we want a 30-second trailer, we want 15 second cut downs, because they have like slots that they're usually trying to fill. But if I'm making a trailer where I'm pitching to a specific individual where there is no, specified time limit, like say I'm going into like Lionsgate, I've got a great idea for a TV show and I'm bringing in my trailer that I made to pitch to Lionsgate. There's no time limit. However, don't waste their time. That's the time limit. If you're making a trailer and it's flagging, it's not entertaining the entire way, it's slow, like don't do that. Like I've put in trailers that are 3 minutes long, and I've also put up trailers that are 60 seconds long. It just depends on the material. I try to get all the information that I absolutely need out in the trailer, and then only add things that are absolutely entertaining in the trailer, just like things that are undeniably entertaining in the trailer, and then I'm out. Like that's about it. And if I'm just doing it for wide distribution, I usually keep it to 60 seconds. Just like if I'm just doing it online or something like that for wide distribution, 60 seconds is the number that I usually keep it at. All right, so let me show you one more trailer which demonstrates exactly the same stuff that we were just talking about. I have to just share the correct screen to get this. So this is a trailer for my podcast. So like you'll see a big difference in quality because the trailer that I just showed you had a budget, and this one had no budget. So this is going to be a marked difference, but same kind of stuff. So here it is. This is a trailer for. Oh, can you hear this? You hear that? Okay, I gotta add in the. Sorry, that was my fault, everybody. Got to add in the audio when you select what you're going to show. So I'm going here, selecting right here, and adding in the audio, and boom. Okay, now you should be able to hear this now, right? It's a cop, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Here we go. And this is a trailer for my podcast. Now, this is one where I basically zero budget, but did the same sort of thing. It's a comedy podcast game show. I'm your host, Victor Varnado. This is my sidekick, Dave Brzezinski.
You're that bad word.
You're a sidekick, Dave.
Yeah,
Dave,
I am.
I asked you to do the intro, never done it right once. Here's how the show works. I'm going to ask you 6 unseemly questions. What's the grossest thing about you?
Oh, there's so many.
Who's better, black people or white people?
Oh, obviously black people.
Are you handsome?
Yes, I think I'm handsome.
I will ring a bell if I like your answer, like this. One bell. If I like your appearance on the show, I will give you $5 whole. And you get $5.
That's a real life.
This $5 is not for you.
I don't even understand how this game works anymore.
Clean family fun, for the most part.
I didn't kill him.
Are you sure you didn't?
Go to unseemlyquestions.com. Great. There's a great voice I was doing too, huh?
Real radio-esque. Unseemly questions.
Yes, great stuff. Way to go, idiot Victor. That's how I think about myself all the time in my head. I just say terrible things to myself over and over again, just if you want to know what my life is like. All right, so now I think we got the basic idea. I mean, if there are any more questions about just like the overall idea about a trailer, then let us know. But right now we're just going to go through an article where they list like some things that they think are the best for just general engagement for your content. Were there any questions from anybody out here? Nope. And then let's go to the next thing. Okay, hold on. I gotta share the screen in a different way now. Okay, here we go. Boom. By the way, as you can see, I have the original wallpaper still on my computer because
oh my god,
I don't care. It's nothing.
I have Goku Goku. It makes me happy.
You have what?
I have Goku on mine.
Oh, Goku. I like Goku. I usually put Fully Cooley on my wallpaper. Fully Cooley.
What about you?
All right.
I had a standard too. Standard like Ireland mountain range with the ocean. They have
cool.
Then why even change it? So why even change it from the default? You got to change it to just another. All right. So 9 tips for creating highly engaging content. This is actually interesting to me because now sometimes I do have to like look things up, but in this case, like this is what I do. This is what I do or have done for a living. Although I'm slowly switching my career. Nice stuff. And so it's interesting to compare like what other people come up with to what I do. So how did you research this article, Roxy?
I just typed in how to make engaging content, and I was looking at different articles and stuff. A lot of them were really old, like from like 2013, 2014, stuff like that. This one was newer, and I looked up what Quick Sprout was, and apparently it's a website where this person puts out stuff on how to like market online. So I was like, okay, that seems like a pretty credible source. And then this one was from last year, and when I went through it, it seemed like it would cover like a range of different people's like businesses and stuff like that. So I was like, this seems like a pretty good thing.
Yeah, that's true. I read the article and I thought it was pretty good. So we're not going to read everything in the article, but you can see that if you go to Quick Sprout and search for 9 tips to create highly engaging content, you can read the article in its completion. But let's just talk about the
put the link in there.
Yeah, put the link up there for people. Let's just talk about the main points of this article. Be original. Now that goes without saying. But yeah, especially if you can. I feel like there's two parts of being original. One, being completely original and creating something that is absolutely new that people haven't seen before. That's great. But then also one thing that kind of gives you a leg up is taking something that's trending, but approaching it in a different way than other people are approaching it. Because then you get both. Yes. Remixing. Exactly. Remix.
My favorite.
If you're wondering whether or not everybody on this podcast is black, now you know. Produce actionable content. That is a great thing. That is a great thing. Producing actionable content is just giving people something that they can actually use and do, and also pushing them to do that thing. One of the things that happens on, say, there's a website called Skillshare where they make all kinds of like tutorials. They found that people respond more to tutorials if the tutorial is a project rather than it's just information. So for instance, like this, which I'm doing, which is just information, is not as good as tutorial that is an actual project. Like if this were a project, like how to make your own trailer, and I showed you from beginning to end, and then it helped you make your own trailer, that would be a great thing. But instead, I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it. But yeah, actionable content is a great thing. If you want to chime in on any of this, please let me know. Publish accurate information. That's actually a really big deal. A lot of people do informational media and they don't research it. They just take the first thing that they heard. And I don't even know if my wife is watching. She does the same thing. Like sometimes she'll read something and she'll be like, "Victor, sky is falling." I'll be like, "I'm not sure the sky is falling." And so we have to cross-reference.
And I realized that that's definitely come from the culture of people just wanting to be first, to feel like they'll get the most attention if they drop it first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not even a matter of like what's the right. So, no, I said it first. It's like, but
that means I'm the right source. It's like, nah.
Absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree with that. And in fact, if you get to the point where you're doing this for other people, this is an absolute must, because you can't work for a company making content and publish information that is wrong. That is the type of thing that can get you sued, blacklisted. Just you need to research and know for sure that you're saying the correct thing. Okay, tell a story. I agree with that one. I think telling a story is always good if you have the ability to. I feel like that in the Six Unseemly Questions trailer, I'm trying to offer up the story of the relationship between me and Dave on the show as well, which is part of the whole thing, and that's actually the telling a story can apply to so many different types of media. Like it doesn't have to be a narrative piece. It doesn't necessarily have to be a documentary piece, but you can tell a story in anything, in even a trailer like the one I showed, but just like any type of content, there can always be a story behind it.
Yeah, I noticed once I started getting on live more and just talking and explaining stuff to people like in story form, like they asked me a question and I presented it as a story, my views went up tremendously. Even with like the sketches, once they became more like story format, it increased. What do you think that is? It's just easier for people to follow, or?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. People always want to hear the end of the story. Okay, they want to know how things turn out. So if you start telling a story, people are going to want to finish that story. I mean, especially if it's a good story, and that's just how people engage. So if you're a person who can continually tell stories, they become more engaged with you. They think of you as more familiar. They become a fan, like because you're taking them through like your story and your thought process. That I think makes them more of a fan. Now, to be honest, like a lot of my content that I put out, I don't tell stories as much. I started to for a while. I started this web series, which I actually am starting up again now, where I would tell little stories and people loved it. And then I stopped because I was too busy. But I went back and I redesigned the web series so that it was easier for me to produce. And then now that I've designed it in such a way where it's easier for me to produce, I can actually go back to telling stories. But when I did it just a couple of times, I'd done it before, people loved it, and so I'm going to do it all over again. So you're right. Telling stories engages, draws people in. I need to get new headphones because I broke my real headphones, and now I'm wearing my Xbox headphones, and I feel like a jerk. All right. Make your audiences think. I feel like that goes with telling a story. I mean, I think that maybe that is not too different. I mean, if you give your audience information or change the way they think about something by addressing new information on a topic that they maybe thought that they knew, sometimes challenging your audience is a good thing. I was working with somebody recently where they were hiring me to kind of like spread the word about like what their project is. I'm not going to say who they are because we're still working and I want to divulge too much information. But the basics of it is.
I understand.
What?
I definitely understand because I had things I haven't announced who, man, mainly because I ain't got the check yet. So we got to make sure we get the check first. And the check, please let us know, man.
Oh well, no, they've already been paying me, but it's confidential, so I can't tell you who exactly. But I will say this. One of the things that I came up with that they really liked was challenging people. For instance, like one of their target audiences is feminists. And I said, why don't we make a video that said, if you're a feminist, this is how you probably think. So that like the video immediately makes them lean forward to be like, oh, if I'm a feminist, oh, this video better be like what I think about, because
so it's not y'all all these comments.
Not the what?
I said if not, then y'all are getting all these comments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, what's the word? I kind of post like that sometimes. Like I'll just post something that I know will make people angry just to get that engagement.
Well, I'm not saying post to make people angry. I mean, I'm not saying post to make people angry, and that's fine if that's who you are, Roxy. Fine, but I am saying post to make people like just lean in, like make them want to engage or want, like, if you get their hackles up, they're going to want to offer their opinion. And I say, make them lean in. Like, think of presenting whatever you're about to do in such a way that people will lean in rather than, not. And this is actually all part of like what I talk about when like you start off with a hook at the beginning. You start off with something that engages people and makes them lean in at the top. Okay, use visuals. Well, yes, that is 100%. We are in a world. I feel like that goes without saying at this point because everybody.
You have to, if you're not, I mean, I'd have to ask you why you aren't, especially in time right
at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a world where you have to use visuals. I actually, one thing that actually I think about all the time is that right now there are so many people who don't know how to even approach video, and no matter who you are, if you're out there on the internet, that's something that you got to eventually sink your teeth into.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Master your headlines. I agree with this. I don't do it all the time because I feel like audiences are becoming more savvy, and so if you write headlines that are in a specific style, which everybody has come to recognize now because the world is so saturated with headlines, I feel like it can even put people off. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't know for sure. I have had success with writing what I call soft headlines. Like I'll write headlines that are more friendly rather than headlines that I'm guessing like are clickbait or some are clickbaity. How about you? What you like clickbaity headlines?
No, I don't, because people get mad, and I don't really like making people mad like that. But on my videos, I just try to keep them short. I think Chinedu does the same thing. Like anybody that kind of makes like a whole lot of sketches, you have to have a good headline because people won't click it if they're not sure what the video is. And I've tested it a couple of times, like not putting a headline or something on my video and putting it, and I get way more when it's something on there. But yeah, I don't like the clickbaity ones, or like when the headline doesn't match with the actual content. People don't like that at all.
Because
that's a clickbait turn on.
I agree, because with clickbait, when people realize it's clickbait, not only are they insulted, now they'll make an effort to go out of their way to trash your video.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like they'll go out of their way because they feel like you wasted their time, and so they'll take even more time to make sure that they like trash your video.
I'm actually working on an article to promote NYC Talent Show, which is for anybody that's watching. It's an online open stage where anybody in the world can perform, and I pay them to perform. And so the headline that is please let me give you money. That's the headline. And so, but it is a thing where I give people money. So
it's accurate. Very
catchy. That'll get my attention.
Exactly. That's
free money.
Hook readers with your intro. Obviously, this is talking about like a blog intro or something like that. But that's exactly the same thing that we talked about. In fact, everything that I talked about how to do a video that actually applies to written material as well. In fact, like if you looked at any of the articles that I've written for like say Vice or Salon or whatever, like then you'll see that I use kind of like the same format. Like I hook people at the top. I tell them what I'm about to talk about. I tell them why they should listen to me, and then I go through the story, and then I end with some sort of tag. Like it's all there in whatever piece that I'm working on. Mix up your content. I agree with that. Although there are some people who just are great at a certain thing, and people just love it, and they just keep doing it, and they build and build and build. I mean, there may be even, when you're mixing up your content, perhaps there are variations in the content that are more subtle depending on who you are. But yeah, mixing up your content is good. Anyway, check out that article. It is on what's the name of the place? I got to go back all the way to the top. Okay.
Quicksprout.com.
Quicksprout.com. 9
and
tips
it is pinned to the bottom
to create highly engaging content. And then just on my end, on my end, one more time, I'm just going to say like those things that I think are important in engaging content, or at least the format. Once again, that is 1, a hook, 2, information about what it is, 3, credentials. Why is this important? Why should I be listening to you? 4, examples or your main story. 5, a final statement or a close, and then 6, a tag. If you got some sort of tag, then that's like a thing that doesn't necessarily have to be part of it. That's why I say 5 things, because the tag doesn't have to really be there. All right, so go out there and make engaging content, everybody. Dean Varnado says so.
You can find us at artsacademypodcast.com.